Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayed Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtike. Okay, let's share the screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
So we're going to discuss about the root cause of anxiety and some practical solutions as to what we can do and what our Vedic scriptures offer, how we can deal with anxiety. The session is dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Now, before I proceed further, let me, so we have about say 14 or 15 participants. Let me ask you quickly, is there anybody who has never experienced anxiety in life? Can raise your hand. Or if not, when assuming you have experienced, what are some of the common causes for anxiety? Anybody wants to share? The more you make it interactive, the more you share, the more you reveal, the more effective the session or the learnings will be. It is not some passive thing that we want to learn theoretically. It's more important to see how we can apply them in our day-to-day life. And anybody wants to go forward and say or share what are the common causes of anxiety? Attachment. One answer I got here is attachment. Okay.
Thinking that we are the proprietor.
We are the proprietor. Okay.
Expectation.
Expectation. Yeah, I think I got from Shrey, and also I got it from overthinking. So,
Performance pressure.
performance pressure, overthinking, expectation, attachment, and one more was a proprietor. Okay.
The things which make us happy.
Things which make us happy,
Yeah.
that causes anxiety.
Anxiety in the sense will be in hurry.
We will be in hurry for what?
To do things which we feel happy.
We will be in a hurry to do things which will give us happiness, so that causes anxiety, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
When we do multitasking, then also we have anxiety.
Multitasking. And why do you do multitasking?
we want to do, because we have so many things to do at a time. I do most of the time multitasking. So
Right.
anxiety is there.
No, that's true. That less time and more to accomplish. But why? If you ask yourself, why do you do?
I want to do so many things at a time.
Correct. But what motivates you to do so many things?
Mm,
Think a little more.
Sometimes it is like I want to show off that I can do so many things at a time, or I want to be more proactive.
One is show off and one is, you said, proactive. Okay. Okay. Anybody else was not spoken? What causes anxiety?
fear of unknown,
That is written there? Or you the same? Yours was unknown, or what was it? Okay, there is here one answer by Mataji, fear of loss. And you said fear of unknown. Consider Mataji.
yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji,
Okay.
because of expectation.
Expectation already one. So expectations I've got now 3. 1 plus 1. Okay.
Sorry, I joined late, Prabhuji.
No problem. So Ankit, Manohar, and Shrey. Okay. Anybody else wants to share anything? What is the cause of anxiety, Jitendra ji?
If the things are happening and not according to my desire,
Things not happening as per my desire. Any last comment anybody wants to say?
Sometimes, Prabhuji, when we are not able to face the challenges,
Not
then
able
also
to face the challenges.
the
Okay.
challenges.
Say a little more, like what kind of challenges?
Like we want to perform, or we want to do the best things, or we want the other people should do as per our norms and standards, and then we get anxiety.
That causes anxiety?
Yeah. Suppose we want that our children do this, our expectations are more, and they should do like this, and they are not doing it, and we get anxiety.
Yes. Very valid. Mm. Uncertainty of future. Okay. Reacting to everyone and everything around us is also a good one.
One more thing is that Prahlad Maharaja, the way he says about Hiranyakashipu, Sada Anudvigna Dhyam, he says that those who are too materially engrossed are always full of anxieties.
Okay. Sastrik. Okay, good. Sada Samudvigna Dhyam.
There is one more, which is the opposite of that peace formula. So whenever we violate one of those things which are mentioned in the 5.29, then again anxiety will come because opposite of peace.
Okay. Some more. Samsara is dukhalaya. So you are anxious? Is it what Ankit that refers to? Okay, maybe you're saying samsara is dukhalaya, so anxiety is coming as byproduct. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, fair enough. You see, we live in a world probably more than ever before. Anxiety is just a norm. I mean, we are subjected to so much of anxieties because of the way things are, the way I've been expected to perform, and all of you very rightly said so many things, right? What I want you to feel and realize, I don't know how many of you attended today's morning session, but those of you who did not, there is one very interesting thing which Prabhu was mentioning about reading Srila Prabhupada's books, which is the basis, which is the cornerstone of our sessions for today and tomorrow. Prabhu was mentioning that when we read this literature written by Srila Prabhupada, basically it is a sound of a pure devotee, and the sound of a pure devotee has the potency to penetrate the layers of ignorance. Sound penetrates the ignorance and touches the soul. So one of the most important things while studying scriptures is to go deeper. That's why he was telling that there is a difference between studying and reading, right? We read, we sometimes read, we theoretically understand, but studying is deeper. When we say something, it struck me, those chapters or those lines, it struck me, it hit me. So when we say that, we need to identify those things, reflect on this, which is called swadhyaya, do some manana, and be firmly fixed in those spiritual concepts. Because ultimately that's what is going to help us. That's what it matters. Just theoretical knowledge will not help. So, and two important words, adjectives, which is worth remembering. One is systematically reading, and the other one is scrutinizingly reading. Prabhupada mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita, first verse itself, that one has to read this books very scrutinizingly and systematically. All these things will help us. So that being said, let's understand. All of you have given some answers I have written down very carefully, and I'll talk about it. You see, in this life, if you see, everybody wants to be in peaceful situation. Everybody, without exception. There won't be anyone who will say, "Oh, I've been peaceful so much in my life. Give me some anxieties, my God. I've been waiting when those anxious situations will come." Nobody wants. Everybody wants to be peaceful. Everybody wants to be everybody is looking for peace. Even in a relationship or even in a situation where we are constantly looking for some change. Somehow, this is just becoming too much. Can I get out of this? Can I get some peace? Can I get some relief? Those kind of thoughts and desires are very natural to probably everyone in this world. We want to run away from our parents. The children want to run away. The parents want to run away from the children. Husband wants to run away from wife. Wife wants to run away from husband. Colleagues want to run away from each other. There's always some kind of tension, some kind of anxiety, some kind of misunderstanding, some kind of difficulties. In fact, you would have heard this kind of solutions, which is very popular these days. Learning some breathing exercises. right? You just breathe, especially before interview. You're about to enter into an interview and very stressful, thinking what's going to happen. Breathe. Hold the breath for how many times? 2 minutes, and then release it. And do this for 10, 15 times. You'll be normal. You'll be at least some kind of relief you'll get. Or another popular thing these days is the mindfulness or the meditation. You do this meditation and things will be better. No doubt, we get some relief from this kind of techniques. Doing this certainly helps us. Problem is the solution or the relief is short-lived. We get relief, no doubt. Again, the anxiety comes back. Again, there are challenges and there are situations unfavorable, and then we get into this kind of anxieties. So as I mentioned in the beginning, our goal is to see something very scrutinizingly from our scriptures, understand really what is the cause of anxiety, what are the solutions. Even if, that's why, we've kept 2 sessions. The idea is not to rush through and just finish something which is not making sense, but rather understand it a little deeper and in a more relatable way and see the solution which the scriptures have to offer. So actually there was in the last semester, in the last year, 2019, we had some series of sessions in MIT regarding anxieties, and some of the things that when I had prepared for that, I thought was really helpful to put the slides together for this session and tomorrow. You see, if you study very carefully our scriptures, the cause of anxiety is because of these 3 things. The first one is called situation. Second one is called disposition. And the third one is called identification. Now I'll explain this, all this, what exactly this is. And then we will see what are the solutions. So the first thing that I'm saying is anxiety is due to situation. Now, many of you said expectations or okay, all the reasons that you've said, we will come back to them after we discuss all these 3 causes and see that if there is anything which is left out. Or if you have said something which you thought is not covered, you can always let me know. First is situation. Situation, actually we live in a world where the present world, there are many things which are out of our control, many things. And when situations are out of our control, when we are not in complete control of situation, automatically there is anxiety which comes. Very simple example of this is a traffic. You want to go to your office, or there is a meeting which is scheduled, and there is an unforeseen traffic on the road and you're just stuck. Not much you can do, but it creates anxiety within. How do I reach? What do I do? Can I do something? Can I try something? Here the anxiety is being produced because of a situation where we are put in. 99.99% of the cases, we don't have much control over those situations. And those situations create anxiety. Another example could be, let's say there is a child who's preparing for exams. He can be anxious about it. What if, the questions which are coming, which I have not prepared or I have not read? What if the question paper is out of syllabus? Or what if I just forget all the answers? Now it is creating anxiety. So these kind of anxieties which are created are all because of external situation. The external situations we are put in creates this kind of anxiety. Probably, if a person thinks that he can handle this kind of anxiety, he's in some kind of illusion. Not much can be done. We are put into a situation which is something which we have not expected, or which is beyond our control. Many things in life are beyond our control. So at that point in time, being anxious is normal. Anxiety comes. And to think that I'll be able to control those kind of anxieties is foolish. But then I said, anxiety is not just because of the situation, it is also because of the disposition. Now, what is disposition? Before I go there, the first thing that I described, the situation, is mostly because of the external uncertainties. Right? There is some uncertainties, and that uncertainty is causing anxiety within me. But just going by the definition, external uncertainty is not the only cause of our anxiety. Why? Had that been true, then people who are living in third world country where things are relatively more uncertain, you open a tap in a third world country, chances are you may not get water. But quite surprisingly, people in the first world country are more anxious compared to third world country. I have heard this notion. I'm sure some of you also would have heard. The people in this country look down upon India, saying that there are this farmer suicide which happens in India. People farmers committing suicide in some rural areas because of famine and lack of rain and all those things. But if we see the percentage of people who commit suicide like that versus the percentage of people who are committing suicide otherwise, the suicide capital of India is considered to be Bangalore. The people who are committing suicide are relatively more affluent, doing well in life, but then still they are prone to anxieties. So it is not so much external uncertainty which causes this kind of anxiety, but more it is our inner instability. You see, what are we? We are made up of this body, which is gross. Then there is a subtle body, which is primarily the mind, intelligence, and false ego. And there is the spirit soul. There are three layers of existence to us: gross body, subtle body, and then the soul. Now, gross body is subject to all these kind of external situations where things are not in my control. I'm put into some kind of a situation and naturally become anxious. But then there is something which is related to our mind. And that is what is called the anxiety due to disposition. So there is an event which has happened in somebody's life, or there are events which we are subjected to. But the concept of that event or the experience of the event which is there in my mind can cause more anxiety than the event per se. There is something which has happened. For example, let's take some not so drastic example. Let's say there is a man who is attached to watching cricket or following the Indian cricket team. But he's circumstantially situated in the US now, and the match is happening somewhere, IPL is happening somewhere, let's say in Dubai, right? So there is a match which is going on. This man is situated here in the US. But so this is IPL, forget about IPL, maybe some match between India and Pakistan or India and Australia, something is happening, and India is about to lose, right? Now, per se, the event is not happening where he is physically located. It is happening somewhere else. But India's loss is causing anxiety to him. India's loss there is causing some kind of turbulence. Now, here is the important thing. Our Shastras say that this happens because we are attached to that particular thing. that person is attached to watching cricket. That's how the connection is being made. India losing somewhere is not causing anxiety to so many other people who are not attached to watching cricket, or following Indian cricket for that matter. But if a person who's attached to Indian cricket team or watching cricket, even if that event is happening somewhere else, because of his attachment, that is creating anxiety. So what happens is, as I said, it is not just those external events in our life which create anxiety. It is our perception of those events that cause really the anxiety. How do I perceive them in my life? Gross, crude example, let's say the stock market crashes. Stock market has crashed. And so many people who are holding their head and, oh my God, it's gone, it's over, it's crashed, what will happen to my life? They're thinking like that. But some layman who probably doesn't know what it is, and he probably saw some lines going like this and just crashed or became flat or something. And externally, he may see that okay, there is some lines which was going on and now it has become crashed, and these people are so panicking and doing these things. One may say that he's foolish, he's ignorant, he doesn't know, and that's why he's not able to relate. But those people who are related, who are attached to that thing, causes tremendous anxiety. Very interestingly, Bhagavad Gita talks about this. Very beautiful explanation in Bhagavad Gita. So if you see that, as I was mentioning, the whole crux, one of the crux for this second cause of anxiety is our disposition of mind, which is related to attachment. Bhagavad Gita in 13th chapter actually talks about this particular verse. Very interesting. It comes in the 22nd verse of 13th chapter. Purushaha prakriti sthohi bhunte prakriti jan gunan karanam gunasangasya sad asad yoni janmasu. This verse means Purushaha prakriti sthohi. Purusha is the spirit soul. Prakriti sthohi. It becomes situated in Prakriti, in material nature. Purushaha prakriti sthohi bhunte prakriti jan gunan. Why? Why is he situated? Because he wants to enjoy. Bhunte. Purushaha prakriti sthohi bhunte prakriti jan gunan karanam gunasangasya sadasadyoni janmasu. So because of this one desire, like I think Balram was mentioning, I want to be the controller of all things around me. I want to be the center of attraction. I want to be the only enjoyer. That one reason, and that I want in different ways. How I can control, how I can enjoy is left to me because I have a free will. So Purushaha Prakriti Sthohi, that spirit soul, when it is situated in Prakriti, in material nature, why? Because Bhunte Prakriti Jangun, it wants to enjoy that material energy, material nature. Karanam Gunasangasya Sadasadyoni Janmasu. Then he comes in touch with the modes of material nature and he gets life in different bodies. And based on the different bodies that one gets, he has got different mindset. Karanam Gunasangasya Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu. Very interesting verse. Actually, this verse you should go back and look in life and just reflect on this. And very important is the previous verse, which talks about the relationship between an event that happens externally and the emotions that it creates in person's mind. Very nice verse actually. The verse is Karya Karana Kartrutve Hetuhu Prakritir Uchyate. Purushaha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhoktrutve Heturuchyate. Karya Karana Kartrutve Hetuhu Prakritir Uchyate. Actually, if you see closely, spirit soul, when it is there in this material world, there is always Karya Karana Kartrutva. There is always a cause and an effect. Cause and an effect. So this cause and an effect happens, I mean, Something is happening to us because I've done something in my life, or there is a result which is coming because of an action, and this happens always in material nature. Karya karana kartrutve hetu prakriti ruchyate. But purusaha sukha dukkhanam, because of those effects, sometimes I'm experiencing happiness, sometimes I'm experiencing distress, sometimes I'm experiencing misery, sometimes I'm experiencing elation. Purushaha sukha dukkhanam bhoktrutve hetu ruchyate. Bhoktrutve hetu ruchyate means he wants to be the controller of his enjoyment, even though the effect is, the person has very less control based on his action. Karya karana kartrutve hetu prakriti ruchyate. As long as we are in this material world, we are put into this situation because of some actions that I've done in my past life and because of some actions that I'm doing. But because of my controlling nature, I want to always be the enjoyer. I always want to be happy. I always want to remain happy. Purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktrutve hetu ruchyate. You see, if we read the scriptures very nicely, what the scriptures are saying is a human body is obtained after millions of lifetimes, right? After going through the evolution of so many different species of life. And those different species of life are subordinate to human beings. Right? They're all animal species or lower species of life. And in the lower species of life, when an effect happens, when something happens in life, the way they respond is called these two things. One is called fight, and the other one is called flight. But because, we've come through this evolution, when we've gone through some lower species of life and we've got the human body is evolved, is different. But the mind, for some reasons, it has come from the mindset of the same, the animalistic propensity. So it is still there. So the situation of fight and flight is a very important thing to understand, and what causes also anxiety. Fight means, let's take an example of a deer. Right? A deer, when he sees a lion or a tiger, automatically it is fearful. He evaluates the situation, assesses the situation, sees that there is no reason, there is no way that he can escape, runs, flight. Right? Or let's say there are two tigers who are looking for the same prey. They're going after it. So there is a fight. Every other tiger is thinking, or the lion, whoever it is, they're thinking that he's more powerful or he can win over that other person to get that deer or whatever it is. So there is fight. Now, very interestingly, in human beings also, when a phenomena happens to us in our life, either we try to fight. Try to fight means try to make things all right. Try to feel that I can control, I can make things better. I'm passionate about it. I can make it happen. Or I flight. I run away from the situation. Let's take some examples. And this fight happens because of the influence of the modes of passion. And flight happens because of the influence of the mode of ignorance. Fight, say for example. Let's say, the example that we took of the person being trapped in traffic, right? And there's a heavy traffic. Person who's predominantly in the mode of passion will think, I can do it still. I will go in this way, that way, and I can manage to do this. And there is a thrill in that. There is a kick. It doesn't matter what it is. I will reach there. I will prove how I can be successful. And that person, invariably, he goes through all these things. It is impossible to reach probably, but he doesn't give up. Same holds true even in a relationship, where a person thinks, I can control. I can make people listen to me. They have to listen to me. My ideas are important. I can change. I can do things. He goes in the fight mode. And then there is a flight mode where a person is so negative, pessimistic in life. He thinks it is already late. There's no point even trying. And he just goes in a sulking mode. Oh, my life is a waste. I'm such a unfortunate person. Nothing happens in my life. The cab would have arrived because of his booking an Uber or something. And he's about to go, then he says, what is the point? I'll not reach in time. He bangs the door and goes back home. At least the foolish person, if he thinks properly, he can reach the meeting. May not be on time, but there is still, it is worth it, attending the remaining of the meeting, whatever he can attend. But he doesn't even make an attempt. No attempt is made. He feels it's not just worth it. So in the mode of passion, when somebody is acting in the mode of passion, he overestimates his ability to make things all right, or he overestimates his ability to be in control of situation. And when somebody is in the mode of ignorance, then he underestimates his ability significantly. Doesn't just significantly underestimates and goes through some kind of sulking mode. Oh, my life, what happened to me? Like that. So the first is external situation. The second is our internal disposition. And we will come to the third, which is also very important. And the third thing which Prabhupada says, or our scriptures say, is because of identification. Now this probably is the root cause. As I said, there can be some symptomatic relief to anxiety or a person who's anxious by practicing something like meditation or doing some kind of breathing exercise. You will get some temporary relief. But if you really want to go to the root, because the root is still not addressed, so a person again becomes anxious. So if we really want to go to the root and understand why a person is becoming anxious, the answer to that is identification. You see, imagine, we live in an area which is surrounded by lots of trees, right? So if there is some storm or some heavy rain when it happens for some long period of time, then you can just go and you can see that some of the trees have been uprooted. We've seen many times. Some trees will, they look, in terms of heights, they look all the same, almost the similar height. But then they would have been uprooted and they would have fallen on some electric wires and poles and stuff like that. Why does it happen? It happens because the root of the tree is not strong, right? If the roots are not strong, just the mere height is not enough. When there is a storm which is coming, a tree may bend, but it can come back. But it will not collapse, it will not fall. It will only fall if the roots are not, if it has not gone sufficiently deep within the soil, and it will collapse. First situation and second situation, whatever happens in a situation, there is an external unfavorable situation I'm put in, and I'm experiencing anxiety. Normal, quite normal. Disposition, yes, I have a certain kind of a disposition. Maybe some person may not consider that as anxious situation, but I am considering because of the disposition I have. But all these two things, the anxiety experience because of the first two reasons, can be much more aggravated when we don't have our proper identification. When the identification is deep rooted in bodily concept of life, then the impact of this anxiety on us becomes even, it's like a calamity. It's like the impact is just too severe. To explain this, I don't know if you have seen this or you have read this or not, but to explain this, very interestingly, Prabhupada mentions this in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. Very, very powerful introduction of Bhagavad Gita, if you see. So what is Prabhupada saying in the introduction? Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? Sometimes people ask, what is the Bhagavad Gita? So here Prabhupada is answering, is a question and answer helps us. Somebody, when we are going for book distribution, if somebody asks, what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nations of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Everybody is in difficulty. Who is not in difficulty? If somebody thinks only he is in difficulty and the rest of the world is enjoying, foolish. It's just some kind of imagination. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Now here, most importantly, Prabhupada is saying, not only Arjuna, but every one of us is full of anxieties. Why? Because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. We are Sat, but we are put into an Asat. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal. We're not meant to be threatened by this. But somehow or other, we are put into Asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. So if a person is deeply rooted in bodily concept of life, I am somebody's father, I am somebody's mother, I can control my children fully. After all, I am his father, I am his mother. So I should be able to control. The moment a person becomes a teenager, starts becoming uncommunicative or sullen or just behaves in a very different way, the parents think, where is my sweet child gone? Or for that matter, any such example, because if somebody is very deeply rooted in that anxiety, that level, at that point in time is too much to handle. Often we see, you would have seen this, people make this castles in the beaches. If you go, anybody knows where the children make these castles? Near the shore. Anybody has seen this phenomena? Where do the children make castles?
Close to the water.
Yeah.
Using sand.
Using sand, but it has to be close to the water. You can't make it in some dry sand anywhere. It is usually very close to the water, and that's why the sand has to be a little wet. Then you can make the nice castle. And then you build all this big castle in, with a lot of attention, time, intelligence. One wave comes and it just takes that castle away. Maybe 500 meters away, the parents are standing and they're just smiling. It's a simple thing. What's the big deal in this? But the children, they are crying for that. Right? I built this castle now. Oh, what happened now? It is gone. Our situation is somewhat like that. We want to control things, situation, people around us who are all asat, who are all temporary. But we want to control and enjoy with them permanently, eternally. How is it possible? How can I build a castle next to the shore and expect that it will remain permanently in that place? That's the precise point which we have to drive, and that is very nicely given by Prahlad Maharaj in this verse, which Prabhu was mentioning earlier. Comes in the 7th canto, worth paying attention. Shri Prahlada Uvacha Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehina sada samudvigna dhyam asatgrahat hitvatmapatam grahamandha kupam vanam gato yad harimashrayat. So this verse is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj when Hiranyakashipu asked him, my son, tell me something very interesting, the most wonderful thing that you have heard or have read in your school so far. What is that one thing? He's making him sit on his lap and is smelling his hair and is nicely, patting him and asking this question. And then Prahlad Maharaj, fearless 5-year-old boy, is responding, Tad sadhu manye. I consider that to be the best thing. Or as far as I am concerned, this is the most important thing. This is what I have heard or read or I have understood. Tad sadhu manye, asurya varya. He's not addressing his father as father. Asura Varya. Of course, they are born in the Asura families, Asura dynasty. So he can say him as Asura Varya. Oh, best of the demons. Tat sadhu manye Asura Varya Dehinam. Dehinam. You have got this, you are embodied. You're a spirit soul, but you are in the form of, you've taken the body of a Asura. Tat sadhu manye Asura Varya Dehinam. Sada samudvigna dhyam asadgraha. Sada samudvigna dhyam. Actually, if you read the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is one chapter where it is mentioned that Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe, something like that. One chapter is there. The whole chapter is Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. Now, some of you were saying of fear of loss, fear of unknown. In our, if you search the most common fears that people have, probably I would have done this exercise at various times for preparing the PPT. We say the highest. We ask this generally to audience. Tell me which is the most common fear that people have. So some people will say it's fear of death, fear of heights. Fear of death doesn't come so easily. Fear of heights, fear of public speaking. These are some of the things which is very common and which is common all across different times. But if you see the recent times, I've seen there are two fears which have been added to that. One is the fear of terrorists, quite natural, because there are so many terrorist attacks which are happening, especially after 9/11. It is very natural to have some kind of a fear like that. Here, he's the fear. He's the Hiranyakashipu terrorizing the universe. A terrorist may terrorize a small region, maybe a small city. The terrorist of Jammu Kashmir. Terrorist of Massachusetts, but he is the terrorist of the whole universe. And right underneath him, Prahlad Maharaj is sitting on his lap, and he's saying, Sada samudvignadhyam asadgrad. How much of confidence he needs to have? But coming back to the point, the two fears that I was talking about, one is a fear of terrorist, and the other one is the fear of being rejected, which is one of the common fears now at this point in time. People have got this fear, what if I get rejected? What if they don't accept me? Fear of rejection. This was not there earlier, but this is something very, very strong, very prevalent, which is there and which is growing. But this verse, it's very, very, very instructive. Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehinam sada samudvigna dhyam asadgrahat. You may be the universe, the proprietor of the whole universe. You have everything, all under your control. Raising your eyebrows, the demigods are scared. But samudvigna dhyam, you're always in anxiety. Why? Asadgrahat. Because you're trying to be controller, proprietor, enjoyer of things which are temporary. Asadgrahat. Hitvatmapatam grahamandhakupam vanam gato yad dharimashrayat. Prahlad Maharaj replied, O best of the asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and a temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well, griham andhakupam, where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and to go to the forest. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, and where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, as I said, I just want to repeat this because, as I said, if you really have to study the scriptures systematically and scrutinizingly to see some solutions which are long-term, which are effective, then you have to pay attention. So we spoke about anxieties which come because of the situation, because of our disposition, and because of the identification. Because somehow I identify myself with this material world, with this body, the effect of the first two anxiety becomes overwhelming. It's overburdening on me. So that identity is a very important thing, and that's what he's saying. Sada samudvigna dhyam asadgrahat. And we read in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita also, Prabhupada mentioning that somehow we are sat, but we are put into a situation of asat, non-existence. That is why there is anxiety within us. And the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver a person from this. How do we get delivered from this? I don't want to give you the solution, but very powerful, very, very interesting solution which our scriptures give. But what I definitely want to tell you before we close and see if you have any questions, I want you, okay, there will be some homework for tomorrow's session, but so I spoke about two verses, 13.22 and 21. Read those two verses, both translation and purport, and read one more verse, which is called anybody knows which verse Prabhupada says is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? Scholars? Kalyan Kirti Prabhu. Don't search. Yes.
15 point, chapter 15.1.
I had actually made a note of this earlier. Notes. I did search. 11.55 is what I came up with.
Correct. That's the right answer. Even Badrinath Prabhu told here. So 11.55, Mat Karma Krin, Mat Paramo, Mat Bhakta Sangha Varjita, that verse. You have to read that verse purport. Very important. We will have discussion tomorrow. But before I conclude, I want you to look at in Bhagavad Gita 16.20 and 21, which are together. That Chintam Apariyam, what is that verse? Starts with Chintam. Did I say wrongly? Okay, 11 and 12, I'm sorry. 16.11 and 12. Chintam Aparimeyam cha pralayantam upashritaha kamapabhoga parama etavad iti nishchitaha asa pasa sater baddha kama krodha parayanaha ihante kama bhogartham anyanyartha sanchayan. Chintam apariyam cha. Aparimeyam means immeasurable. Chintam is anxieties or fears. Chintam aparimeyam cha pralayantam upashritaha. This chinta, for certain section of people, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, if you read this 11 and 12, Chintam apariyam cha pralayantam upashrita, till the time of their death, immeasurable anxieties. Chintam aparimeyam cha pralayantam upashritaha. Why kamapabhoga parama etavad iti nishchitaha. Kamapabhoga parama. Because of this desire for sense gratification. Because the highest goal, not just the desire, the highest goal being sense gratification. Etavad iti nishchitaha. Who's determined, who's firmly fixed in that kind of a thing. He has got Chintam aparimeyam cha. Something to think about. We will talk about the solution tomorrow. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. If you don't have a question, I'll ask somebody to summarize. Anybody wants to volunteer? The more we summarize, the more we repeat, the more we remember. So don't be shy, but make an effort to start from the beginning where we started. And then maybe we can have multiple people responding so that we cover all the points that we discussed.
So we started with anxiety is due to three things. First one is situation.
Hold on.
Second is
Did we start with that, or did I have something else?
Reading and studying. Studying is more deeper, and we should go for systematically and scrutinizingly.
Very nice. Okay, yeah. Because the solution, of course, I came to the cause of anxiety. I asked all of you to list down, and I probably want to know if all the causes that you give were covered in those three categories, or is there something which was not covered? I'll probably ask that towards the end. But yes, first we started with studying the scriptures. Studying is more deeper, and the study means studying systematically and scrutinizingly. Fair enough. And then I told about how everybody is looking to be in peace or in peaceful situation, and some of the solutions offered are like meditation or some kind of breathing exercises. And then we went to the cause of anxiety. Yes, Bhargav Prabhu, you can finish what you were saying.
yes, Prabhu. Causes. The three causes. First one is situation. Second one is disposition. We talked about, and identification.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, that's all. That's all.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to say what is the anxiety due to situation?
Mostly external external reason for that situation. Actually, the situation can be like external or internal also, but actually mostly external.
Example?
Causes. Example is suppose I have to face the interview, and that interview is very important for me to clear the round, because suppose this is the situation when I just lost my job and I am in so much stressful condition that I have to qualify that interview. So in this case, we are deeply attached with the success.
No. Attached and all will not come now. You're just thinking what will happen if we ask some questions which I'm not prepared, or what if I don't know the answers? Some of those things you're thinking. There's an external situation that you have to face interview, but internally you're thinking about there is an external uncertainty and you are getting anxious. For example, you are put into a traffic. You have to reach somewhere in a time, and you're stuck in a traffic and you're thinking, what do I do now? Can I reach there? And those kind of situations. Most of the things here are out of our control, but we are thinking something about the outcome and we are getting anxious. Okay, what is the second reason?
Fear of failure.
No. What did we discuss? Bhargav Prabhu just said those three reasons. What is the second reason?
Disposition.
Disposition. Okay. What is disposition? What does it mean?
So disposition is internal situation.
Not you.
Okay.
Yeah, disposition is mostly like we have more of attachment to certain things, and so when you have them deeply attached, and especially as you mentioned, Prabhu, the cricket match, maybe going somewhere, but if I have a deep attachment to that cricket following and all, if something the team I'm following is lost, then I'll get more into that that kind
And
of.
how does one get different dispositions?
It depends on the level of what attachment, what we have, and what we have been thinking. And let's say if I have so much attachment to the family, that anything happened to the family, those things. It also depends on what are the surroundings and what is being gone through.
So there are two verses which we read. One is 13.22 and
21 and 22.
Yeah.
21 and 22.
So those two verses talk how different people get different dispositions and how the external event and the emotions get related. That 21 verse that talks about, because it is not the external event which creates anxiety, but it is our perception of that event or the emotions attached with that creates the anxiety. Then we also spoke about how the human body we've obtained this after going through the evolution of different lower species of life, and usually in an unfavorable or an uncertain situation, the animals react in two ways. One is called
Fight and flight.
fight or flight. Anybody wants to tell what is fight and what is flight? Not you, Lakshmanaran. Manohar, what is fight? What is flight? Okay, Shrey, go ahead. Sorry.
Fight is
Can't hear you.
correct. So can you-
Yeah, go ahead.
So fight is the
Mm,
and flight is
only a fight and flight I heard. Fight is whatever you said was not audible. Flight is also
fight is the mode of passion,
yes, mode of passion.
and flight is the mode of ignorance.
Yes, mode of ignorance. Okay, what happens in fight?
So in fight, Prabhu, like we are trying to solve the problem, like somehow or the other.
We want to be the controller, correct. We want to solve the problem. And flight?
And flight is like we tend to let go of things.
Right is run away.
Run away. Okay. Actually, interestingly, I didn't mention the third thing. These were all passion and ignorance. There is the real solution that comes is by coming to the mode of goodness, which is called sight. Seeing the problem as it is, keeping oneself detached from that. So fight, flight, and there is a sight that is for a devotee who is situated in devotion to understand the problem, see the problem, and keep oneself detached. But anyway, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So okay, so we spoke about anxiety due to situation, disposition. The third one was anxiety due to identification. Anybody wants to say what it was? Some who do not speak at all, why don't you make an attempt?
Concept of body, Prabhu. Mainly, we
Okay,
consider.
Stop. Okay, Naimish, attaching ourselves to the body, correct. Very correct. Do you remember the example which I gave? Anybody remembers the example of tree?
Falling off tree and storm is there.
Which one?
The
Storm,
roots,
yeah.
because
Yes.
because they are not strong rooted.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then we discussed the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam by Prahlad Maharaj, 5.5.
5.5.
What is that verse? The first line. Tat sadhu manya asura varya dehina sada samudvigna dhiya asat grahat. Asat grahat. So even though Hiranyakashipu was the proprietor and the controller of the entire material universe, still he was samudvigna dhiya, always anxious, like the children who are building castles, and when it is destroyed, they're anxious, but the parents looking from a distance are just laughing at it. So they are not dhira. That is why these words are very, very important in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuchyati. Person who's sober, who's intelligent, who's seeing through the eyes of the scriptures is not bewildered. Otherwise, anxiety, bewilderment, these are all very natural. So join us tomorrow to know what is the solution which the scriptures have to offer. I could have finished it, but it makes more sense when you read yourself and come back. As I said, read 13.22 and 21, and one more verse which you must read is 11.55, which is called the essence of Bhagavad Gita. All right. Any other
Did you say 13.20 and 21 or 16.20 and 21, Prabhu?
16.11 and 12. That I just was telling how this chintam kamopabhoga parama, who's firmly fixed in this kind of a goal that I should just enjoy my senses. For him, chintam aparimeyam, pralayantam, till the end of his life, till the death, he'll have immeasurable anxieties and fears. But I don't want, you can read that. I want 13.22 and 21 and 11.55 to be read.
Okay.
Okay. Now the question will stop here. Can I request all of you to come in front of your cameras and raise your hand? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai,
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai,
Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Nande.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.